we just like new stuff. It for some reason it's a lot of energy that comes behind doing something new sometimes. But one of my mentors told me, he said, "Man, if you really want to be wealthy, you better get to liking boring money." He said, "You better get to liking boring money. Because that thing that you do over and over all the time that gets boring is your gateway, is your key to get out. Because now you got a system. And the moment that it gets boring, now you can start exploring other things. But if you still trying to figure everything out, then it's not boring enough for you yet."
I never grew up with educators that look like myself. So
100.
I feel like honestly, like we are that new wave that make being wise, being smart, being educated cool, right?
Absolutely.
Wisdom is a powerful tool, but oftentimes we might neglect it because of who it's coming from. You feel me? But if we can chop it up with a young buck and really implant a seed, man, like it's more than just education at that point. You know what I'm saying?
What's going on, beautiful people? This is the Let's Grow Together podcast, where diverse individuals and communities come to serve, connect, and grow in areas that they're most passionate about. As always, man, it's your boy James. I'm here with my brother Marcus. Tap in and let the people know how you doing today.
What's going on, family? As always, a pleasure to be back with y'all. From a check-in perspective, got a little bit of drama, right? A little bit of drama brewing. The big theme for this week, these past 2 weeks, has just been mental health. I actually was invited to speak on a mental health forum with a few big names locally in the city, from Pastor Ryan Ford to my guy Alex Newsom, as well as Adrian Davis as well, who is a very predominant figure out in California. So again, phenomenal. Was able to really talk about how we decompress, really engaging from a youth perspective. We had a lot of college mentors and mentees, things of that nature out, really being able to ask us in very just transactional, kind of back and forth, open-ended form conversation. What I got out of it is really just being able to roll with the punches. So much that while I was on the mental health panel, soon as I left, my wife actually called, like, yo, the police are at the house. Won't get into the details. It was a miscommunication I learned I evolved from. But it's crazy because the session like equipped me with tools to use in that very moment, like later on that day. So it's just crazy to see how applicable things are and how just being intentional with your time is very imperative. Um, Outside of that, the biggest takeaway I got from that is being able to understand the difference between macro and micro situations. Where micro situation, you need to be overly detailed, you're able to zoom in. And macro, where things are bigger than you just need to be able to zoom out, get out of your feelings, and realize that it's way bigger than you, and ultimately, again, roll with those punches. So that was the biggest takeaways. Outside of that, just prepping for this gala, trying not to pull my hair out, but outside of that, everything else is great. How are you, James?
Hey man, shout out to you, man. But yeah, it's always other stuff going on. It's things in the world much bigger than us, man. So just control what you can control, man. But man, from just checking in, man, we just took a group of 45 students to Fogo de Chao, which is a Brazilian steakhouse. I think they got franchises all around the country, but it was just so dope because it was a group of alternative youth, that we work with, and a
Oh yeah.
lot of them had never experienced that. So them seeing the servers coming around and literally serving them the food, cutting it up off of the like literally cutting it in front of them. A lot of them like really enjoyed that. Man, then had a dope session we just left. And we were finishing up the 4 E's, which is evaluate, eliminate, evolve, and execute. And we did a session that was called More Than a Verse, where we were in the evaluation stage, and we had a couple songs. You know how we big on the music and the vibrational piece,
Hmm.
and we had them dissect some lyrics. So one of the songs was G Herbo PTSD. We had
Come on.
we had a Meek Mill song, Expensive Pain. We had it was another song by this guy from Africa, but a couple dope things, man. It was just dope to hear some of our young people talk about like what some of those lyrics meant and how they related to it. So that was dope. And then lastly, man, I was talking to you offline about the rental cars, man. It's this one in particular that's just giving me a headache, bro. From getting brakes done to basically a clip coming off the transmission to all type of crap, man.
Mm,
It's just
mm.
it's becoming a headache in a sense, but luckily had reserves to take care of that. But man, super excited for this conversation today, man. It's one of my guys. I actually connected with him because man, booked a consultation a couple years ago, and he had a conversation with him about like what does it look like to get into real estate? What does it look like to become an entrepreneur? And man, he gave me so many gems, so much game, and man, I'm gonna go ahead and bring him on, man. Eugene, man, talk to the people, tell them a little bit about yourself.
What's up, family? How y'all doing? Appreciate y'all for bringing me on, James and Marcus. Eugene Marshall, founder and CEO of Magnolia Tax Services, which is a tax advisory practice that specializes in tax planning for individuals and small businesses. I'm also an avid real estate investor, predominantly on the south side of Chicago. I've been buying real estate since 2018. I've done wholesales, fix and flips. Predominantly, I like to play the buy and hold game. Currently have over 50 units and counting, and a couple units on the contract right now. And the goal is to some point get to 100. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Eugene, how old are you, brother?
28.
That is fire. That is fire. Kudos. We're all about flowers. So one, you truly deserve it. I love the energy. I definitely, again, James has given me a lot of background, a lot of insight from a serial entrepreneur standpoint. Like, how did you break into real estate? Was it a mentor who kind of put you on game? Can you give us a little bit of insight about that?
Yeah. So let's see. I like a lot of people on a wealth creation journey. They say, "Oh man, I read this book or I heard this podcast." But I had read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and in the book he was talking about, you know, a lot of folks don't really understand the difference between what an asset is and what a liability is. And he broke it down in simplest terms and basically just said an asset is anything that make you money, a liability is anything that take money away from you. And so he really kind of focused on how do you position yourself so that you can have your assets make money for you without you having to trade your time to be able to do that. And one of the biggest and best asset classes to do so is real estate. And at the time of me reading the book, well, actually before that, growing up, I always had mentors that, how like a mentor come pick you up, or even a father figure in your life will come pick you up. They just say, "Hey, you finna spend the next few hours with me," and we go around and run errands. And so I remember I used to help him out with mowing the lawn at some houses. At the time, I didn't necessarily know what I was doing, but just, hey, I was getting paid to mow some lawn, or I was hopping out in the car picking up these envelopes at these houses. But little did I know he was a real estate investor. He was a landlord. He was just collecting checks, and he was just doing what landlords do, and that's maintain their properties. So I got exposed to the idea of ultimately creating wealth for yourself through a book, and then come to find out I had mentors that was already in a space, and then I just tried to figure out how to bridge the gap between where I was and where I wanted to go. And I knew I wanted to be financially free, and I knew that real estate created the most millionaires in America, in the world, and that was one of the asset classes that I wanted to focus on.
That's phenomenal. I love how you said you had mentors that were already in the space, and you basically saw what they were doing, and now you had to figure out how to get from where you are to get to where you want. So you you get into real estate, and you have the very first deal that you have. Talk about that process and what that experience taught you.
Man, my very first uh, so deal. I'll go with first buy and hold. So first buy and hold was a nightmare. Um, I spent a lot of time listening to podcasts, reading books, networking, having lunch with folks. Hey, teach me about this. Tell me a little bit about that. And I had got the how to buy a deal down, right? What your maximum allowable offer should be, um, identifying some farm areas, and really kind of, letting your seeds blossom in those areas. And of course, in real estate, you want to buy. It's all location, location, location,
Yep.
and then of course it's numbers too. Now all I see is numbers. I'm not even too much concerned with the location as much as what the numbers say on paper these days. But long story short, I bought a 3 unit building on the south side of Chicago, and it was fully occupied at the time, 203K, and I thought to myself that, hey, the tenants that's in here, I can just do a cash for keys situation and ultimately get them out. But little did I know that was not going to happen.
Yeah.
But when you listen to these podcasts, they tell you, hey man, you could just do cash for keys, offer them 1,500, 2,000, whatever it is to get them out of there and get them keys, and then you can get it in the unit. And that's what I thought that I could do. But unfortunately, these folks were professional squatters and they didn't want to get out. And at the time, I think I was like, I don't know, it was what, 22, 23. And you're not trying to evict anybody, right? You're not trying to be a part of that, contribute to that system of folks getting displaced.
Yeah.
And that's not the spirit that I was coming from. But I realized that, hey, I was sending these folks apartments, I was sending them resources, and they was just not taking advantage of the resources. And at some point, you got to know when you get pimped. So I was getting pimped. Ultimately, I had to file for an eviction. I evicted all three tenants out of the building, and then we ended up doing a rehab. And so I understood how the buying right side from again, your maximum allowable offer, identifying property in a great location. I got the property for the number that I needed in order to cash flow. But what I did not know was the construction game.
Yeah.
And so we ended up doing a rehab. And I tell folks all the time, like, the construction side of real estate is a total different animal. It's a total different beast. So long story short, ended up doing a rehab. Contractor I had screwed me. I lost about $50,000 on that on my first deal, and then I ended up having to end up getting my own general contractor license, and I ended up finishing the project out myself after hiring a mentor, right, to actually teach me the game, and I borrowed all of his subs, and so I was able to get through the project. But yeah, my first project was a complete nightmare. Long story short.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of learning. As you were very fresh, very very new to it, but that spark didn't really change. Even though you bumped your head, that was a hurdle you continue to pursue. And I like how you kind of evolved. It was more so like, if I don't know something in this arena, I'm gonna connect with somebody who does, or I'm gonna just learn myself, right? That
Yep.
self, education. It seems like you're just that driven energy you are really able to convert through just education or connecting with people in that space. So I want to talk a little bit more about the general contractor component, because I don't hear most people say, I'm gonna go be a general contractor so I can learn the other side of it. What kind of sparked that, and what was your experience with that as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm only in the business of contracting my own work. I'll never do a
Oh,
project for
okay.
somebody else. But what I learned on my first deal was, he or she that controls the money control the deal, right? He or she that controls the money control the deal, and that general contractor, if you're doing a rehab, he or she is controlling the deal because the bank is going to pay them out, right? And most contractors, they're robbing Peter to pay Paul. They got a project going on over there. They got a project going on over here, and they waiting to get money from this project to get your project rolling. And so you're sitting behind waiting for him or her to send their guy over there to do the drywall, tape it, mud, paint, whatever it is you need to get done, put the flooring down. But every day costs you as the owner, right? Because at the first of the month, Loan Depot, whoever your mortgage is housed by, they want to get paid, right? They don't want to they want their money on time. They're not trying to hear that your contractor is, the sub didn't show up today, right? Or there was no 2x4s in Home Depot or Myers or wherever you at, right? So for me, it was more so I had to get in front of the money. I had to get in front of the money, and the best way to do that is by, getting my general contractor's license. So I just got my general contractor's license just so I can control the money. That's it.
Nah, that's super dope. And just on the conversation of like money, in the introduction, I had said that I booked a consultation with you, and it was funny because I talk about it all the time. Like, people hear it on the podcast, and I'm like, I paid about $100 to talk to you for an hour. We were on the phone for like maybe two or three, and then I got so much value from it. But I can't remember who it was online, but they say without a transaction there is no transformation, and you
Mm.
have a similar saying. I'm trying to think what it is.
I know
So
what it
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah. So talk about that. Where did that philosophy come from?
Yeah, so it's people who don't pay attention,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
People who don't pay attention, and unfortunately, a lot of folks don't value free because they ain't got no skin in the game, right? They didn't put anything into it. You know, it's just like and it's not this is it is generalizing, but statistics shows. But hypothetically, let's say the person that get that car, parents just give them a car at 16 years old. Next thing you know, they total out the car 2 3 weeks later. But that person that had to go work at Baba's, work at McDonald's, and stack their money up, right? When they get in that car, you better believe they stopping at every stop sign. They turning slow. They got their signals on. Man, they worked hard to
Hmm.
get that car.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
They appreciate it. You just appreciate it a little bit more. And for me, I've always had the mindset that, you know, if one, I don't want anybody to give me anything for free. I want to earn the right. Like I literally, so I bought my first Rolex 2 weeks ago. And for me, I've been wanting a Rolex for a long time, like a very long time. But I haven't earned the right to buy one yet. And so for me, it's all about earning the right to do things. A lot of folks want to travel. Well, did you earn the right to travel? Did you earn the right to buy designer? Did you earn the right to go on a 2 week, 3 week, 4 week vacation? Folks got to earn the right. And so for me, I want to earn everything that I do. And on top of that, like I always tell folks too, you should have everybody should have a financial budget. But in that budget, though, you should have some money allocated towards personal and professional development because whatever is in your bank account right now is nothing more, nothing less, but a reflection of the value that you provide to other people. So if you don't like what's in your bank account right now, that means you don't know enough. And I mean, we talked about real estate earlier. The best real estate that anybody can invest in is up here. That's the best form of real estate. So for me, I have a personal development budget every single year. I go to conferences, I travel, I go out and meet people. And when I go to these places, I want to sit front row, right? So earlier this year, I went to a 10X Business Summit, Grant Cardone. It was in Arizona, and it was a conference. It was a 2 day, 2 or 3 day conference. I don't remember what it was. I just remember the price was 7,500. I didn't care. Paid the 7,500. I sat up front, very front row. The guy next to me was doing $30 million a year in his business. The guy that's on my right side. On the left side of me, he's doing $150 million a year in his business. Right? These are folks that understand systems. These are folks that understand how to scale human capital, right? But if I would have never made that investment, I wouldn't even have these people in my network, right? So for me, it's just about earning the right to be able to do the things that you want to do. And although there is some education that's free that is extremely valuable. But for me personally, I want to get around the folks that's just like me and they're not afraid to make that investment. If I made the investment to be there and they make the investment to be there, 9 times out of 10, we have a compatibility match, and it really boils down to the root of us having drive. I want to be around folks that got the same energy as me. One of my mentors, he used to call it, you want to be around like-minded success seekers, right? You guys have this podcast because you guys are like-minded success seekers. Y'all got someplace y'all trying to get to. And then as y'all getting there, y'all also impacting the culture by sharing y'all message at the same time. So that was a long-winded answer.
Yeah. And we appreciate
Nah,
it.
that was spot on. That was spot on. To your point, yeah, that sweat equity is beyond valuable, right? It's most people don't want to hop in a whip with somebody who isn't gonna invest energy when the time comes to perform and do whatever they desire. So I love that. You spent 7,500, but I bet you probably got 10x times that game, right? So so nah, that's awesome. I want to talk a little bit about you talked about determine your right? That's a dope concept. I want to ask you personally, how did you determine your right that it's time for the Rolex? It's time for it. Because most individuals don't have the discipline and they invest all that money on the weekend and they're right back hustling Monday to Friday to recoup those funds. How do you go about it? Because it sounds like with all the great things and accolades you have, you're still just now getting to it, right? After the 50th property, Now it's time for Rolex. So what does that kind of look like? How do you determine when it's the right time to make some of those moves?
Yeah, when the money is when the right dollar is in your account. You know, when that number that you're looking for is in your account, you know, that's when it's time for you to make those plays. And then of course, it also kind of goes back to what your goals are, because at the same time, looking forward thinking, like we're planning, excuse me. So like for right now, I'm planning out 2024 in November. So I'm already executing 2024 goals. 2023 is a wrap. It's over with, you know. And so now I'm planning out 2024. And a lot of folks don't realize and understand that your moment, the momentum that you have in Q4 carries into Q1. What happens is a lot of folks wait until January 1st, New Year's resolution, right? And then they want to start implementing all these new things, but it don't work. I think the numbers are like 75% of the folks that actually create New Year's resolution don't actually stick to them, or 75% of the folks that create those goals for the new year don't even achieve those goals because they didn't have the proper mindset going into the year, going into them accomplishing their goals. So for me, when it comes down to earning the right, it's about what's in the account, you know, and then two, what my goals are moving forward. Because what's in the account right now could be impacted by my goals, especially if I have the capacity to or the need to hire a full time salesperson, or maybe I need to buy another piece of real estate and put an office in there. So it just depends on what's in the account. That's the best way, the simplified way to put it.
No, that's real. I love how he was on it. He was like, man, hey, if when the number look right in the account, we cop it. Hey, that's real, man. But something that I gotta big you up on is being a serial entrepreneur, like having your hands in a lot of different things. But at the same time, you gave me one of the most valuable pieces of advice where it's like focus on one thing first. I don't know if you remember our conversation when we first had it, but I was like, man, I want to do a podcast. I wanted to get in real estate. I want to do this. And you was like, bro, hold on. You got to focus up. You got to focus on one thing. So how important is it in this entrepreneurial journey and doing whatever it is you want to do to focus on one thing first before trying to throw other eggs in that basket?
Yeah, it's very important. It's very important. Last thing that you want to have is shiny object syndrome, and you're chasing the next best thing that look good, or the next best business venture. You allowing people on Instagram to control where you going. Because everybody on Instagram talking about e-commerce, Shopify, folks on here talking about start a credit repair business. This other guy talking about, hey, why don't you be a gym owner, right? Like, if you don't understand where you going first, and really like identify a few things that you want to focus on. And here, let me share this. Actually, that's a great question. The hardest thing about starting a business or going after your goals is not coming up with the goals, right? It's just sticking with the plan. A lot of folks don't stick with stuff long enough to actually
Mhm.
see any results. They just want to start something right away, and if they don't see a check coming 2 weeks, 3 weeks, oh, this ain't for me, this ain't working. Well, no, you haven't did it long enough. You
Mhm.
haven't stuck with it long enough to even learn the system, learn the game. So yeah, it's everything. You got to be able to buckle down, sit still, focus, right? And I think what it really is that with a lot of us, even myself included, we want to get into we just like new stuff. It for some reason it's a lot of energy that comes behind doing something new sometimes. But one of my mentors told me, he said, "Man, if you really want to be wealthy, you better get to liking boring money." He said, "You better get to liking boring money." Because that thing that you do over and over all the time that gets boring is your gateway, is your key to get out. Because now you got a system. And the moment that it gets boring, now you can start exploring other things. But if you still trying to figure everything out, then it's not boring enough for you yet.
Mm. Shiny object syndrome. I have not heard that before, but I love it. That is so spot on. Um, You talked about something we actually mentioned a lot on the platform is acquiring is the easy upfront thing, right? It's the maintaining, right? If that's a relationship, if that's a house, if that's anything of that nature, right? Anything of value, acquiring is one thing. You can wear a mask and acquire something, but when you in the process of maintaining, that mask has to come off, and that consistency and that discipline has to kick in. So yeah, so spot on, bro. You're really big on if there's a problem, creating your own solutions. We talked about being solution oriented a lot, right? So having the education in real estate, but now being a general contractor, so I can rem- provide a remedy to that long duration you just spoke on as well. You also dabble as a tax advisor, right? So you solved you provided another solution to, hey, I'm making this money now. Let me make sure I'm managing it properly. Tell us a little bit about that tax advisor business and really why you crafted it. I think I know why, right? Solving another providing another solution to yourself, but I want to hear the backstory.
Yeah, so that's my baby right now. You know, the tax firm, that's what I'm committed to, for the next 20 years. So I like to do commitments in 20 years now. So for me, it was I was already a buddy of mine. He had started he already had his own tax practice. And when I left corporate originally, I joined him. And he was like, "Hey, you own real estate. I got a lot of clients that, are in the real estate business. You speak the same language as them. I think you do very well over here with me." And he was the closest person in my circle that I knew that was a real life millionaire, that was making millions. And he wasn't, flashy or anything like that. Still to this day, he's not flashy. And so I ended up joining him, and I learned a lot about the tax business. And I've always been good at selling, always been good at talking, always been good at closing deals. And so we were selling tax plans. We were selling tax plans, and we was helping a lot of folks save money on their taxes. At the time, I was just good at sales, and I had the real estate background, so I was able to relate to a lot of real estate developers, investors, fix and flippers, general contractors, realtors, and majority of the client base had fitted that profile. And so the only thing that I was missing was a license. So in the tax space, the prominent licenses are, of course, you can be a tax attorney, right? And then you can be a certified public accountant, and then you can also be a enrolled agent. And so instead of me having to go back to school, I decided I'm just going to buckle down and become an enrolled agent. And so the primary differences between a enrolled agent and a certified public accountant is our designation, our license come directly from the federal government, the Department of Treasury and the Internal Revenue Service. So 9 times out of 10, if you was to get audited by the IRS, you're going to get audited by an enrolled agent. And so a CPA license, they get their license from, state boards. And so what a lot of folks don't know is that there's a ton people, the average person automatically assumes CPA with tax, you know, but unfortunately, there's a lot of CPAs that don't even want to touch taxes at all. All they want to do is just the accounting. They want to do, more of the gap reporting, the financial modeling, and that type of thing. And we partner with a ton of CPAs, and they send us a ton of business, you know. So for me, it was okay. I got very good at selling this, and we sold a lot. We sold a lot. I got very good at selling it, and then I brought my brother into the business. I trained my brother up, and then my brother started selling it. And then I was like, a light bulb came on. Like, damn, okay, well, I can sell it, and then I can train people. So we started bringing in more folks, and then I built the team out, and so my team was killing it. And I said, okay, wait a second, I need to go ahead and get my license. I got my license, and then ultimately I departed, and then I started Magnolia Tax Services, which is my 9 to 5 essentially.
Mhm. So I just have a quick question. Was that a network marketing company?
No.
Okay, it just sounded, the structure of it made it sound like you said you brought in a team, but man, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. I mean, I was listening to your episode on Millionaire Mindsets Pod, and I think you had mentioned at one point you also were doing like some concealed carry instruction. Are you not doing that anymore? Is that still happening?
Yeah, I let that go.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Still not partnering with the folks that you had doing it, because I remember you said like you were taking a percentage or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I ended up letting that go completely.
Oh man, that's dope. I mean, that sounded listening to, because I listened to it today in preparation for this, just to make sure that I had like, my questions, and I was like, damn, that's a really good idea. Like
I
that was
think
a
that was what episode was that? I think that was probably like the first episode I did with them.
I think so. I think it was, because I think y'all was still virtual. I think y'all was like virtual.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta listen to the one we did in person on
Got
YouTube.
yeah,
That
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah. Got you, man. But man, I gotta give a shout out to you, man, because you gave me a lot of gems right on that initial consultation, but also you had gave me access to a lot of information, and I am here to verify the fact that when there is no transaction, there is no transformation. When I tell you that I went through all of that stuff, bro, like I went through all of it, and it was almost like being a book that's never been opened. I didn't do anything with it, to be completely honest. But then what ended up happening was I bought Brian's second rental car course. And from there, went ahead and bought me a couple rental. Well, got not bought, but got me a couple rental cars through his course. So I just want to stamp the fact that if people do not pay, they will not pay attention. And if there's no transaction, you will never transform. You won't do anything. So I got to give you your kudos on that.
well said. Well, I mean, you did the work. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah,
you did the work. Can't nobody could ever take that away from you. You know, and that's the beautiful thing about putting the work in, man. Like, I'm so confident, man. Like, when you an entrepreneur or when you got goals and you got someplace you're trying to get to, you gotta have like this confidence about you that, like, dog, like, I know I'm finna win. You know, like, I get up every day. Every day for me, everything starts at zero. Whatever I made yesterday, that was yesterday's money. you know, I gotta get out. I gotta get out and get up again and repeat or even do something better. You know, and I just got so much confidence, man, that I know I'm gonna do it. Whatever I say I'm gonna do, I've always done it.
yeah,
And that's why I believe in myself so much, because once I say I'm gonna do it, it's done.
yeah,
And that's the type of confidence that you gotta have with anything that you want to do. But that confidence get built over time,
yeah,
and is you being able to track those daily wins. A lot of folks don't even track their daily wins,
yeah,
you know, and they sitting there struggling with anxiety because they don't feel themselves progressing. Well, you don't feel yourself progressing because you don't have a way to track your progress.
yeah, 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 yeah. Now a lot of people looking for a quantum leap when in reality, man, you just took a couple steps today that you didn't even realize that you made. But I think it's David Mesler. He says that what is it? Self confidence is keeping the promises you make to yourself. So
Mm.
when you say like, man, I'm gonna do this, and you do it like that, that builds the brick to your confidence. But I'm interested in asking, like, where does that come from? Because I know you come from humble beginnings. We actually, you might not know this, but we actually grew up in the same neighborhood. I'm from 112th and Wentworth, so not
Oh,
far.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, Rose.
yep, not far at
Yes,
all.
sir.
So how do you come from that type of environment where it's super grimy, super poverty stricken, to building a growth mindset, a wealth and abundance mindset?
You know what? I was smiling earlier when you was talking, and when you brought up the you guys took the kids to Fogo de Cow. I think
Yeah,
I said it right. The cow and the
I
chow.
think it's they child, something like that. Yeah,
You guys took whatever it is. You guys took some kids over there, and they was so amused by the folks cutting, the meat off the whatever they got.
yeah, yeah,
Long story short, exposure, exposure. And I had got a part of this program called the YAP program, Youth Advocate Program, that targeted at risk youth, and I was considered at risk, and so the mentors I had at the time, they was like, "Hey man, won't let's go to a White Sox game." I'm like, "What? Why would I go to a White Sox game when I can shoot dice on the block and come up, $200 right quick?" Um, and so it was those types of experiences where I just kept getting exposed and exposed and exposed, and that's why I believe in mentorship so much, and I believe in giving back, because if I didn't have that person or those group of people that actually gave back and poured into me, I wouldn't even have the vision that I have right now. I didn't even communicate like this, 15 years ago. I communicated totally different. I was a totally different person. And so I always, to me, it's important that, we prioritize personal and professional development so that we can become the best version of ourselves so that we can ultimately give back and pour into somebody else. Because my life personally is not just about, it's not about me. It's about my ability to have impact, you know. And so for me, it was just exposure. I got exposed to the right things at the right time, and I took advantage. For me, I knew right from wrong. So and anytime I was doing something that I shouldn't have been doing, I knew I was in the wrong. We got some There's a lot of kids out there that don't even know right from wrong. They don't know right from wrong at all. And so I think those are the ones that we really need to, prioritize. And everybody, honestly, prioritize everybody. What they say, if you get into a room of 100 people, if you can get one person out of the room, it was a success. And for me, every time I go out and do a speaking engagement, I'm looking for that one person. I'm just looking for that one person I can connect with, I can touch and motivate them past this conversation to do something bigger than what they can see right now.
That's real.
That's what it's about, helping her create that vision, but still just remaining humble and true to yourself as well. So, regardless of the properties, regardless of that, you're still down to earth. You're still able to talk. You're still able to communicate and pass it on. We're really big on learning from other people's hurdles as well, right? The fact that you tripped and busted your butt over that first house, right? The mentee now is going to have a foundation to build from that as well. So again, man, you definitely dropped a lot of jewels. I hope a lot of people are very intentional with some of the things and the game plan, because you actually kind of laid out the plan from beginning to end, right? I started with this, I faced this hurdle, I overcame it in this fashion. So I appreciate you just breaking it down from a fundamental standpoint. Um, One big thing that we talk about a lot when it comes to entrepreneurship is people really being fearful to take that leap of faith, right? You talked about having a 9 to 5. You're very inquisitive, very knowledgeable. So I'm assuming you were in a great position before you even took that pivot. So I want to hear a little bit about, like, what was that straw that really broke the bank? But like, yo, like I gotta pivot. I'm sleeping on an opportunity here.
Yeah, so COVID. COVID. I was driving like an hour and a half back and forth before COVID. Before COVID, driving an hour and a half back and forth to work. I was working in tech, and I had the rentals. I was already buying the rentals. Um and then COVID happened and we was working from home. And so I was like, oh, perfect. So we started working from home, and then I was really able to get out. I was able to like really move around how I wanted to, and it was like, hey, I had joined a new team, and it was like, hey, we're doing a pilot program, and we're trying to bring folks back into the office, and it'd be nice if you went into the office, and some of the team, met you, and they can know who you are and stuff like that. It was like, right, it was still in the height of COVID, and I told him straight up, I said, I'll be honest with you, I have no desire, and I will not be going back into the office. Those that's kind of where I'm at. And he was like, okay. He said, let me talk to the boss real quick, and I'm gonna get back with you. I'm like, wait, let me talk to the boss right
Yeah,
quick. I
yeah,
don't even like him talking to me like that.
yeah, yeah.
He said, let me talk to the boss right quick. His boss, which is our team lead, our team boss. He said, let me talk to the boss right quick, and I'm gonna get back with you and let you know what he say. I'm like, okay. So uh a week go by. Yeah, a week go by, and well, that was on a Monday, and on a Friday, he come back. He said, "Good news. They said, yeah, we can extend you out a little bit longer, but we got to get you back in our office in the next couple of weeks." I said, "Okay, I'm gonna get back. I'm gonna get back with you." Weekend go by. Weekend go by. I'm thinking about it the whole time. Like, yeah, I'm not going back into the office. I had enough cash reserves. The rentals was kicking in, and then my buddy had already been at the time had already been telling me like, hey, once you come over here, join me, blah 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 blah. And so I was like, I'm out, I'm done. Monday came, I put my 2 weeks in, and it was a wrap. And I left and never looked back, and joined my homie at the time, and his practice, and I made more money than I was making at the day job. And so then I got super valuable there, learned a ton. And then, you start doing 10K a month, 20K a month, 30K a month, and then you're like, whoa, okay, this is what we doing now. So that's kind of how it happened.
Yeah, you better than me, man. I don't know if I would have put the 2 weeks in. I might have just said, yeah, I ain't coming back. Peace. You know what I'm saying?
No, honestly, real talk. This is just me. Not a lot of folks may not agree with this, but just me. Okay. Personally, if I would not put another 2 weeks in ever again.
Yeah.
I won't ever work in corporate again. But my advice is, because here's the thing. I get it. You want to leave on a good note, just in case, because sometimes stuff don't really work out how you want it to work out, and you may need to go back there. But at the same time, why would you put your dreams off for 2 weeks? Do you think that company would put their dreams off for 2 weeks for you? Mm-mm. They gonna get rid of you. Somebody come to them with an opportunity and they say, "Hey, we're gonna give you the opportunity to scale your business, give you this new product launch, XYZ, but you gotta let Eugene go." What do you think they're gonna do the next day? They're gonna let you go, right? The very next day, they don't want you. They don't want you to put no 2 weeks in. You go. You going tomorrow, right? So why would you put your dreams off for 2 weeks when you can use that time, energy, and effort to get rolling? Now, of course, everything that I'm talking about is all in nature of you, okay, having the right having income coming in before you leave, making sure you got a nice solid cash reserves, your credit score is on point, you got a credit game plan, right? You got to have a plan. It's not just up, put you 2 weeks in and that's it. That's not what I'm saying. That'd be very foolish of you. And I see a lot of clients that come over in the tax practice and they say, yeah, I just quit my job. Next thing you know, 3 months later, they're like, hey, I need to pull from my 401k because I don't have enough money coming in to support the business. And now they got a taxable event because they're taking a withdrawal from their 401k and they left too soon. So that's not what we're preaching. We're just preaching. What I'm preaching is having have a very solid system and a game plan and work with somebody that's probably been in your shoes before that can help you get free.
That's real, man. That's real.
Brilliant.
Well, Marcus, I had a quick question. Because we was talking about during the pandemic. Also during the pandemic, you put your author hat on, right? You said you had a little bit more time to kind of sit down, focus, and move the way that you wanted to move. Talk about your book. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, yeah. So I always had the desire to write a book, The Power of an Idea. A beginner's guide to turning an idea into massive profits. And so I really wanted to. It was all about impact. How do I impact somebody? How do I empower somebody to, hey, you have an idea. All right, now what do you do with the idea? How do you turn something that you have in your head and actually like materialize it? I mean, that's the most beautiful thing I think that anybody can do, man. You got something in your head and then you can actually see it. It actually comes into fruition. Like I be looking at my logo, and I got my logo on clothes. I got other people wearing my logo. I got other people saying Magnolia Tax Services, selling our products, selling our services. And it was something that was in my head, you know? And not only was it in my head, is now helping people pay their bills. You know, it's in a position where other folks are able to pay their bills. So for me, it was really just about impact because I was somebody that always it also came from shiny object syndrome. I was always somebody that had all these different ideas. Oh, do this, do that, do this, do that. I start something, stop, and I never stuck with anything. And so that book was okay, that momentum, those additional resources to help you stick with something. Here's what you need to do in order to get that idea, off the ground.
That's dope.
The difference between you and most individuals I'm seeing is one, the strategy. You're beyond strategic, you're very detail oriented. Yeah, you're gonna build out the plan. But not only am I gonna build out that plan, I'm gonna add on to that plan with creating a solution for what problems arise with that. And then execution. Bro, you execute across the board. You ain't playing with nobody, bro. And I love that drive. I love that hunger to be able to pivot from corporate to dive full on to creating your own and really being able to create generational wealth not only for you but other individuals in which you're supporting is phenomenal, man. And to still have the youth, the drive in what you do is phenomenal, man. So as always, definitely want to be able to give you your flowers. I want to talk a little bit about rolling with the punches. It sounds like your experience has been great. Again, I know we talked about some of the nuances in the early stages. As we kind of opened up in the beginning, talking a little bit about the mental health. Like, bro, you're doing a lot. I want to talk kind of about how you're able to really decompress in the midst of, say, this project fall through, this car ain't going right, numerous things going on simultaneously. How are you really able to juggle them? How are you taking care of yourself personally? Like, what does that look like, your time for you, and how are you able to overcome the nuances that you face consistently in business?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in 2019, um, I think it was 2019 or early 2020. Um, it was 19. It was before the I think it was 19. Yeah, it was November of 2019. I want to say it was. Um, I was hospitalized. I was
Mm,
so one night I was asleep and I had this sharp pain shoot through my arm and I thought I was having a heart attack. My heart was beating like super super fast and I was under a lot of stress at the time. Yeah, it was 2019. I was under a lot of stress at the time. I was dealing with a breakup. I was driving an hour and a half, depending on traffic. Sometimes that shit was like 2 hours to to work and back a day each way. You spending 3 hours, 4 hours in the car, and then my general contractor had played me. On that project I was talking about after I had just evicted folks. I mean, I was losing money on that deal. I had a whole lot going on, and so I was severely stressed out. And what ended up happening was I ended up having a severe panic attack. It wasn't a heart attack; it was just a severe panic attack. And man, it was a real wake up call for me because I realized that I had to chill. I had to
mm,
find a way to really have that balance between, trying to fight through all this stuff, be strong, be a man, right? And
yeah.
and get through this. But in the reality, in the grand scheme of things, I kind of lost touch of, hey, sit down, man, watch you a movie tonight. You know, don't do nothing. And so that moment, those moments, that year rather, I always go back to that whenever I'm like working hard. Cause I mean, like you said, like you could have this business going over here, you got this rental. I just literally just listed an apartment unit on Friday. I get like 60 phone calls a day. And it's just like, man, like I got that pulling me. I got folks calling into the office. I got a significant other. You got all these different pieces or compartments that you got to manage in your life. And so sometimes, not sometimes, what's important is that you make time for yourself no matter what, you know, and always put yourself first. You have to be a little bit selfish. You have what they tell you when you go on the airplane. If something happens to you before you put your kid mask on, you got to put your mask on first before you can help anybody else. And that looks like you protecting and invested into your mental health. And so for me, what I do is and it's a system. I'm all about systems. So I have an alert that pops up on my phone every day at 9 o'clock, and it say wind down. Wind
Mm,
down. Don't do anything. So at 9 o'clock hit, I'm done. I ain't doing nothing else. Even if it's not finished, whatever it is, I'm done. Because if I keep, for some reason, I don't know what it is, when I start going past 9 o'clock, man, the anxiety starts to kick in. I stay up longer than I need to. And then every once in a while, man, put that Netflix on, watch you a movie, chill, relax. Go to the gym, put the phone down. Like the first 30 minutes of your day, you shouldn't be on the phone. A lot of people, right when they wake up, they in the bed just doing like this, scrolling on the phone.
mm,
Man, you letting all these other people program your day before you even get a chance to program your day. You know, and so now you digesting other people's energy. You ain't even created your own energy. You digesting everybody else's from Instagram, from TikTok, from X, from Twitter. You know what I mean? So for me, it's just about just having that system and really realizing that I need to shut it down for a moment.
Man, I wouldn't. I couldn't have said it better myself, man. He almost took the words out of our mouth, Marcus, because we say that all the time. But man, Eugene, man, we truly appreciate you coming through, man, and blessing the podcast. I'm pretty sure, our listeners gonna get tremendous value But yeah, this is an opportunity for you to plug your socials anywhere. If anybody want to tap in with you, if they want to get a consultation for the tax services, how do they get in contact with you?
Yeah, so the best thing to do is to reach out to us directly. You can find me on social media at __ Mr. Marshall. If you're an individual that have a small business and you need some assistance with, saving money on your taxes and you want to minimize your tax liability, then give us a call. You can reach out to us at 414-285-2446, or you can visit our website at magnoliataxservices.com.
Man, appreciate it. Marcus, you got anything else for the people?
Nah, I think you said it all, Mr. Marshall, man. Definitely appreciate you. It's phenomenal to see a young king out here grinding, getting it, man. And again, we definitely want to edify you to the highest extent. You blessed us with some good games, some knowledge, and most of all, a lot of people who are in a space when they're able to thrive, they're hoarders of knowledge. So I applaud you for being able to, express that, to pass on the gems, to help, build up the next young man and woman who's in a position, but to your point that you mentioned, is hungry and willing to put in the work themselves as well too. So again, thank you sincerely, boss. We definitely look forward to following up and connecting in more depth. And I hope everybody who tapped into this follows up with you as well, man, because you definitely are full of some gems and more than willing to share. So I appreciate you again, brother.
Love, love, love. Appreciate y'all for letting me bless y'all stage.